Necharak Amin Ra, Nutated Amin Ra, Nuk Amin Ra. Necharak Pata, Nutated Pata, Anuk Pata. Good evening, sisters and brothers. This is Kapra Pata. And today, we're going to talk about nutritional alchemy and the four sons of Heru. Now first, I'd like to thank all of my ancestors, elders, teachers, and guides, and all those who have come before me. And to all who is viewing this particular lesson, peace and blessings to my sisters and brothers, and thank you for joining me. Now first we're going to go ahead and start with the Yoruba Otoropan Ofun, where it says, health leads to integration of the light and the dark. And it teaches us that we must obtain equilibrium, mentally, physically, and spiritually, to be liberated and fully integrated. In the Kemetic teachings, this is done with the help of the four children of Heru, who are Hapi, Twamutep, Krepsanuf, and Amseti. The human body temple is said to be formed by the netter Kenemu, a being depicted as a man with the head of a ram. Kenemu represents the consciousness that shapes you in the womb. We are tasked with maintaining the body temple with higher intelligence that has blessed us with life, strength, and health. The outcome can be quite rewarding, yet the process has been proven difficult for many. The problem stands with the fact that people have been accustomed being prisoners of their appetites and their many cravings. And when it comes to nutrition, the standard American diet, SAD, has remained focused on a food pyramid that consists of 4 basic food groups and 3 square meals a day. Unfortunately, the fact has not been taken into account that the diet is not for everyone. Not only that, but the fact is that it's been dealt with the fact that African Americans have one of the highest levels of diabetes, heart attacks, and all forms of preventable illnesses that's directly connected to diet and stress. And what we have not been told is how these things that are put in our foods have been slowing us down, dumbing us down, and keeping us sick. It keeps us constipated and subject to all kinds of food-related illnesses. And since food is mostly looked upon as something to indulge and to the point of fullness, the individual is led to believe that all their physical needs are being met on a nutritional level. However, recent studies are confirming what indigenous cultures around the world, including Africans, have always understood. That what we eat affects us mentally, physically, and spiritually, and the wrong food combinations can lead to problems with the digestive system, as well as build up mucus. And the mucus holds toxins in the body that must be flushed out. And much of the soul food in what we consider to be culture can be traced back to the African continent. And a true reason for soul food is to nourish the mind, body, and soul, as opposed to the saturated meat, potatoes, and GMO foods that have become accustomed in our diets and what we've been eating while being in the West. And the effects that it's had on our mind, what it has affected us mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, you see. So during the days of chattel slavery, black people had to be guided by the soul in order to take the slave food forced upon them by the so-called slave master and transform it into something nourishing. So our ancestors intuitively knew how to use herbs and spices that only seasoned the food but also had medicinal properties. The food had to be nourished in order to prepare them for the hard work under such oppressive circumstances. And it would appear that food has been turned into a weapon to control people as of today. And much of today's produce is grown and cultivated in low vibrational environments as well as in depleted soil. It lacks the vitality and trace minerals that would otherwise nourish and enliven those who partake in such produce. This contributes to those who consume in having a lack of energy, feeling tired, sick, depressed, and not to mention sickness, disease, and degeneracy of one's endocrine system and internal organs. Now there's a different kind of slave food, and it's given to everyone. The population are constantly being bombarded with commercial products that are not even healthy for the human body. Besides the GMO, there's all this junk food, and there are supplements that contain harmful ingredients, and not to mention pollutants and toxins that find their way into the human body through skin alone. Not to mention various shots that the people have been made to take so many years in cycles. I want you to pay attention to that, family. So because of faulty food combinations and a lack of nutritional value of the junk food and the fast food that Americans continue to put into their bodies, it has led to a population of obese and mentally confused, lethargic, and all around diseased social groups. And most people don't take it into account that the lack of nutrition has played a major role in the dumbing down of the American people. And what's even worse is the fact that it's causing hereditary mutations that break down the genes in human offsprings. If not stopped, this genetic breakdown causes the genes to get weaker and weaker, leading to genetic death of the family line. Since most schools throughout the country continue to encourage students to eat unhealthy food for a long time, this has become the norm. So we will see lower IQs in the very students which they claim to have been educating. Now throughout the country and public schools, we have saw that students have become more obese than ever. And in my observation, I have come to the conclusion that people of African descent are not only exploited economically, but have been targeted for nutritional genocide and nutricide, but also dietary racism. In many commercials, we will see the so-called African Americans shown eating at McDonald's or occupying roles in Kool-Aid and Jell-O commercials, and black people find themselves at the mercy of economic conditions in which healthy food has been taken, for the most part, being made unavailable. But we spend millions of dollars on poisonous junk food, as well as living in toxic environments where you will find radioactive power plants and city dumps that are blocks away from the residential areas in which they live. And you will find this trend in California, Chicago, New York, and also the major cities throughout the country. These deadly diets and materials and parasites make matters worse, and many of the acidic foods that we have come to consume continue to put into our bodies add the metals that have been found in our bloodline and coming through the skin. This is even found in deodorants and everything else in which we purchase from the corner store, from mama and pop stores. And due to the consumption of all the acidic foods that we have been made to live by, we have an extremely toxic and imbalanced life condition. So keep in mind, the inner environment and the outer environment are reflections of each other. The environment deals with not just your outer self, but your inner self as well. So what we see around us is often a reflection of what's collectively going on within us. So just like acid rain can take the paint off an automobile, acid blood can lead to the wearing away of the bone structure itself. And since many blacks don't grow their own food, but buy their groceries from convenience stores, they are exposed to foods of no nutritional value, and with extremely high contents of white sugar. To become healthier, it would be wise to regulate the intake of acidic foods, and these are the following: heavy amounts of flesh foods, which contain uric acid, dairy products, which contain lactic acid, and eggs, which contain sulfuric acid. One of the many traps that people in the hood and barrios of North America have fallen into is the consumption of these three sources that contain high amounts of acidity. To make matters worse, big business and corporate lobbyists continue to teach the public that the latter three sources of acidity contribute to strong muscles and strong bones, as well as a resonance or resource of iron, when in fact, the overconsumption of these products have led to the opposite. And we see that many of indigenous people have been affected to the point that there are imbalances within their endocrine system. The endocrine system is a network of glands that secrete hormones throughout the body, as well as affect the mood of the one who owns the body. In metaphysical tradition, each gland is linked to what they call a chakra, and these chakras are located in special nerve centers, mainly up and down the spinal column of every human being. Hence the Kemetic Egyptian influence or tradition. We see where these chakras are called the seven Aritu. Aritu means gateway, because it is through these gateways in which one can experience different aspects of consciousness. Food plays a major role in one's moods, because when you eat foods of different qualities, you're affected by the vibration of the food that you put into your body. And it's through the seven Aritu that the serpentine fire, aka life force, awakens and raises upwards. Nutrition is the key to transformation of one's state of health. And these are different elements of nutrition besides food. Vitamin D from the sun itself plays an active role in one's nutrition, and it's important for melanated people to understand the purpose of an alkaline balance, for it is the acidic levels within the human body that has led to much sickness. And what many don't take into account, the secretions within the glands that are activated by negative thoughts. Another pitfall for melanated people is we are falling into the over intake of white processed sugar. This over intake of white sugar literally rots away the bones, the teeth, and the internal organs. White sugar can be found in just about everything. On top of it, soft drinks, fast foods. We'll just go ahead and call them fast foods. How about that? Anyway, this makes much of the diet for those who live in the inner cities. In the West, a lot of people actually avoid eating leafy green vegetables along with the rest of the food on their plate, and instead fill the body with all kinds of mucus-producing foods and junk. And this is the mistake that so many of us have been making, and have gone away from a solarized diet with green vegetables and greens of all types, where we get our nourishment directly from the soil and the sun as well. Foods that are from the soil have to stabilize the body to house the soul. But the American diet is highly acidic. So, where there's leafy green vegetables are necessary to balance the acidity with more alkalinity, we have been taught instead to stuff our bodies full of hamburgers and fries from the various fast food restaurants, these type of restaurants that you want to fast from. So keep in mind that plants contain the light of the sun. Through the process of photosynthesis, plants make their food from sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. In the green leaves of the plant, water combines with carbon dioxide and creates a sugar that becomes food for the plant. It is the chlorophyll in the leaves that trap and store solar energy. Photosynthesis means to make with light the leaves of plants, which they work like solar panels that absorb light directly from the sun. Green vegetables contain chlorophyll and alkaline. Chlorophyll purifies the blood and rids the body of cells, of cell debris and damaging free radicals. Alkaline gives the body energy, keeps the body properly electrified, and increases brain capacity. The juices of plants is actually the blood of a sower, because chlorophyll has a similar make to hemoglobin. To eat green is to take in solar power by eating plenty of fruits, will aid in the elimination of constipation and hardening of the arteries and the buildup of impurities in the system, or that is, the colon. The heavy consumption of acidic foods like sodas and greasy fried foods and dairy products has led to major health problems among people of African descent and melanated people around the world. Without physical health, the spirit within cannot express itself properly. In this age, you must treat your body like the sacred temple that it is. In Kemet, the desecration of the sacred temple was considered a great offense, and the same applies to your physical body temple today. You are the king, you are the queen, and you are to run your kingdom, and you must be physically fit. The body of the king had to be fit because the king was expected to lay down his life for the country in times of war, and he had to be on the front line with his soldiers, even though his soldiers were protecting him. He represented the heart of the kingdom. Okay? So when hunting, He would go for the most vicious of prey. You cannot rise to any challenge with an unfit body and mind. In this age of information that was only known to the spiritual elite and the royal office is becoming common information and common knowledge. In fact, alchemy is known as the royal secret. Greetings, Sister Bree Hall. This is correct. Chlorophyll is indeed the key. Thank you for that. So we look at this individual of today and how we've been taught how to live. It has been meant to take us away from who we are and to cause us to not think as clearly as we could. So to be the king and queen is always strive for excellence. When taking on the character of Heru, we rise above the subjugation of mere bestial mind states and cultivate the healers and creators within our true selves. We begin to come into our own power without giving our power away to other people and circumstances while becoming masters of ourselves. This gives access to even more ashe. As the living, we become touched by the sun, solarized. A solarized being can raise the vibration with his or her presence and solarizing surrounding individuals. She or he has become a living replica of the philosopher's stone because their vibration is so elevated that their presence brings a positive charge to the energy field of those around them. The wisdom keepings of ancient Kemet teach that African people, aka Nubians, are the seed of Ra, as well as the people of Heru. Ra is Ankh, Ucha, Seneb, life, strength, and health. Now, there's a book by Ra Neframin called The Middle Netter and explains Ra being the life force. A strong life force is the key to success and longevity in life, and it is up to all of us to cultivate, maintain, and awaken Ra within ourselves. However, such a state must be reached through the transmutation, through self-purification, and the purification of one's very being. So, in the tombs, there were 4 canopic jars placed next to the sarcophagus of the deceased. And these jars were sacred to the Mesu Heru, aka the sons of Horus, or the sons of Heru. And we will see that each one contained the sacred organ that helped in the internal alchemical process of elimination and regeneration. The lids of these jars were the image of the guardian that protected each organ. So I'm going to actually explain each of them. You have Hapi. Hapi was a baboon, and he was over the lungs. And his guardian, the mother that guarded him, was Nebutet. Tuamutef, the jackal. Tuamutef ruled the stomach, and his guardian was the mother Neith. Then you have Amseti, who had the head of a human, and his guardian was As. And by the way, Amseti ruled the liver. Krebsanuf, the falcon, who was the small intestine, who was ruled by the mother Arg, protected by the mother Serket. So, it is through the cultivation of these 4 organs. And by the way, I failed to tell you that each of these organs represented a direction. Hapi was the east, Tuamutef the north, Amset the south, and Kebsanuf the west. So it is through the cultivation of these 4 organs and the powers that guard them that led to the restoration of Ma'at in balance and harmony and the cultivation of Ra, Shechem, life force energy in the human body. Remember that Ra is also the manifestation of Ankh, life, Ucha, strength, and Seneb, health. So to neglect and abuse the organs is to invite disharmony into your life in the forms of sickness and disease. Dwelling within each organ is the spirit of one of the sons of Heru, and each one is protected by one of the 4 mothers, that is the Mutim Heru. The lungs are sacred to Hapi and guarded by the mother Nebutet. The lungs take in oxygen and gets rid of carbon dioxide and distributes oxygen into the blood that is pumped throughout the body by the heart. Every cell in your body needs oxygen. A lack of oxygen can cause fatigue as well as lead to brain damage. So Tuamutef dwells in the stomach and is guarded by the mother Neith. The function of the stomach is to break down food and convert that food into nutrients that feed the body. The dynamics of this internal alchemical process is that the muscles in the stomach contracts and mixes the food with stomach acids, where the food substance becomes a liquid called chyme, and the chyme passes into the small intestine, which is sacred to Kepsanu, who is guarded by the mother Serket. The small intestine is the place where the chemical digestion begins to kick in the most, and the liver is sacred to Amseti, who is guarded by the mother Aset. The liver regulates most of the chemical levels in the blood, and it produces bile, which is an alkaline substance that removes impurities as well as aid in the process of digestion. Now, all blood that leaves the stomach and intestines has to pass through the liver. These four organs are to be cleansed, purified, and strengthened, where most diseases are the result of accumulation of internal impurities, as well as the destruction of friendly organisms that help break down our food. These impurities also affect our moods, which in turn will influence the way we think. So a diseased and degenerate body leads to diseased and degenerate thoughts, leading to diseased and degenerate lives. And this is why in the 8th plate in the Papyrus of Ani, in the Pertim Haruim Ger, it reads, I put an end of my failings. I have removed my defects. What then is it? The cutting off of the corruptible matter. It is of the Osar, the scribe Ani, triumphant before every deity. Driven away are all defects that belong to him. What then is it? The purification on the day of his birth. So with that being said, I'm going to leave you for now. And we're going to get into some spirituality in the next session. For those who are interested in more, please check out my YouTube page, Kapra Pata. Like and subscribe for more information. Until then, peace and blessings, my sisters and brothers. Hatepu.